This is my favourite food. I'm going to show you today how to make the best raspberry lamingtons. What I'm going to do first is make the cake. Now I'm not going to do a traditional sponge cake, I'm going to actually make a butter cake. Just because I want that texture of the cake to be a little firmer, so when I cut it up it's not going to crumble everywhere. With a sponge cake, if you're using a sponge cake recipe, that's absolutely fine too, but you may want to take the sponge and just cool it, perhaps put it in the freezer for a little while before you try to slice it to then do the second part of it, which is obviously rolling it into the raspberry and the coconut. So what I've got here in my bowl already, 2/3 of a cup of milk, 2 eggs, 1.5 cups of flour, a couple of teaspoons of baking powder, and a teaspoon of vanilla essence. And then in my jug here, I've just melted about 3 tablespoons of butter, and I'll just add that to the ingredients and beat that up. And then that's going to go into my tin, which I've already sprayed, as you know I do. Spray with a non-stick and then line it with your baking paper, and then we'll pop that into the oven, which I have preheating already at about 175 for 20 minutes, and we'll check on it and see how that goes. Then that needs to cool, and then I will show you how to make the beautiful raspberry jelly that then we're going to roll our cake into, and it's going to be yum. So fantastic. Let's get beating. Great to have you back, by the way. That is done. So from there, all we're going to do is pop it into our tin. Yum, yum, yum. Now, because we don't want a high cake, we want more of a rectangle, so it's going to be easy, obviously, for us to chop up into lamington shapes, which is traditionally square, but you can make a lamington any shape you want. So what we'll do, if you can just see that there, just spread it out to the corners of the tin, like so, till it's roughly even. It will self-level in the oven. Just poke it into the corners, just like that. Just get that last little bit off. Okay. That's ready to go in the oven. So I'll see you in a little while when it has come out and cooled, and then we'll go on to the second step, which is creating the beautiful raspberry jelly that we're going to put our cake into and then roll in coconut. Now we've got our beautiful cake out of the oven, and it's been sitting a while, so it's pretty cool. So we're just going to remove that very carefully from our tin. Place the tin to the side and slice that up. So I'm going to make my own jelly. Now what I've got here is about 250 grams of frozen raspberries, because it's winter at the moment and raspberries aren't in season. Frozen, you can use them absolutely fine. And to that I've added the juice of 1 lemon. Now I don't know if you can see in there, but there's pips in there and a little bit of lemon. It doesn't matter if you leave your pips in there, because we're going to strain this once I've cooked it together with the sugar, which I've got about 100 grams of caster sugar. So the caster sugar is going to go in with the raspberries, and then we're going to put the raspberries on the stove to cook, and we're going to bring that sugar and the raspberries together, and then once that's cooked for probably 5-10 minutes, I'm going to take that off the heat and then strain those raspberries, so all we're left with is this beautiful raspberry syrup, which then I'll add some gelatin to, which will make my homemade raspberry jelly, which these little puppies are getting dipped in. Here's my cooked off raspberries in caster sugar. So I've just done a light strain because I actually want to leave some of the pips in there. I want a more of a rustic type jelly. So I've strained it once in this little container. Actually, I can show you over here. It's normally what I use to keep my beetroot in, but that's just taken out the bulk of the pips of the raspberries and those lemon pips that were in there as well. So now we're just going to add that gorgeousness, smells so good, to our gelatin. Okay, and what we're looking for, I want to make about 500 mils in total, which we're at 375. So I'm just going to top that up a little bit, just so I make sure that we've got plenty of this beautiful raspberry jelly sauce. And then this has to go into the fridge for a while because we want to catch it, as I said, just at that stage, just before it starts to really set. So what I'm going to do now is pop this in the fridge and play the waiting game. I just have to taste it. Oh, so good. So we've had a little break for an hour or two while the raspberry jelly has been in the fridge. So if you can see that, it's still liquid and fluid. So what we're going to do is grab a Lamington, pop it into our jelly, onto the plate, and just repeat until they're all done. Okay, all finished. So these are my beautiful raspberry Lamingtons.